like every summer in recent years, because it already happened last year and the year before. Social media is filling up with accounts. These are the ones that fantasize about Real Madrid's forward line. And who's going to stop us? Who's going to stop these guys? Besides, this year there's one more, right? That's Diomande. Even though these three are here, these three are Diomande, Mbappe, and Vinicius. Bellingham is missing here because Bellingham, well, you have to consider him a midfielder, attacker, almost a forward. In fact, the way Bellingham plays best, and we've seen it in the World Cup where he performs the most, is closer to the box. More of an attacking midfielder. Not without defensive duties, of course, because if you teach him how to run, he doesn't just run around aimlessly like many others do. Well, on the defensive side, just like Diomande, by the way, of these three, he's the one who drops back to defend the most. So, hey, you can get something really positive out of the guys up front, especially if you're having four, since all will play. We all know this, right? Just so there are no surprises. Imagine Florentino's face. And this is a reality at Madrid, so nobody should get scared. Nobody should think, look, here we go again. No. Since Florentino became Real Madrid president, things have gone very well at Madrid. Most years, but always when one of his favorites, and he has many now for different reasons, right? Vinicius, as shown by how he renewed his contract. Mbappe, let's not even mention. Diomande, as he's Real Madrid's most expensive signing ever. And he just signed him this summer as well. And Bellingham, because he is their big marketing product, besides being a great player who they need to get the most out of. As we said, none of these four. Or if any of these four, Mourinho, if he decides not to play one of them, Florentino is going to frown. It's not so much like, look, Angel Gil, I mean, frowning isn't like making a scene right in your face. Florentino's way is more discreet, but he's going to do it, right? He's going to do it. So, well, all four of them will have to play. Like I said in the previous video, if in any Madrid Barca or Madrid Bayern he decides not to play someone, it would be Diomande, who will be the one to complain the least. Well, that could happen too. But in other matches, you might underestimate opponents and think it's an easy game. And then it doesn't look so easy, and that's when all four will play. Here, the question is, like we said before in previous videos, who's going to get the ball to these guys, right? And it's just that only two spots will be left. And we came to the conclusion in the previous video that it would have to be Tchouaméni and Valverde, because, I mean, Bernardo Silva, very good. Güler, fantastic. So, does Valverde get left out? You'll have to pair him with Tchouaméni, the only holding midfielder who truly knows the role and can handle it alone. Another thing is how Tchouaméni performs as the lone holding midfielder, given his turning issues. But between Tchouaméni and Valverde, both will need to play, and they're very close friends. That's it. Like I said at the start, these kinds of accounts are popping up everywhere, fantasizing about this. Who's going to be able to stop this forward line, these guys, and all that? Well, the answer, I think, for those of you who know me and from what I've been saying in my recent videos and in this one, is us, our midfield. But it's not just me saying this. I've said it on Twitter and people are already coming at me. You've become very pessimistic. But let's see. I tell these people I don't want to answer them because, well, it would take up too much of my life to reply to everyone, right? But neither here nor on YouTube, I do reply to a lot of messages. Sometimes I don't have time for everyone. Come on, haven't you seen the last 2 years of Real Madrid? Seriously, you haven't seen them. Being optimistic doesn't guarantee better outcomes in life. It's not that you're a pessimist or that you see life in black and white, damn it. It's about being realistic, for God's sake. You have to be realistic. The Madrid forward line is truly legendary. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll admit we have the world's best forward line, just like France did in the World Cup. But France lost to a team with a midfield that shut them down. Remember Spain versus France in the semi-final? But of course, experience tells me that what happens, happens. Here, I insist I'm not alone. Look at the first response. Who can stop these guys? These three in the middle. Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Valverde? Well, Camavinga won't even play, right? He'll stay, but only two will play. Tchouaméni, Valverde. And even if you put Arda Güler there, it's clear that Arda Güler deeper in the build-up can give you a little bit, but he's not a specialist there. Bernardo Silva, damn, neither is he. Maybe it helps a little bit for a midfielder like Chouameni to get the ball out better, but not really. Look, he says this triangle, the Bermuda Triangle. Of course, people respond. Someone made a joke about Florentino that I won't mention because it's in poor taste. But yes, people react to this because that's what we're seeing. And if nothing fixes it, that's what we're going to see. Madrid would only sign a defensive midfielder if, and forgive me for insisting on this because I'm not going to mention the other one anymore, okay? You're a widow? No, I'm in mourning for a defensive midfielder, period. What happens is that now the opportunity has come up that you could have, by putting in a little more money and a little more effort, you could have signed the best of them all. Whether you like him more or less, he was the best of them all. Okay, I'm in mourning for a defensive midfielder. Why? Because we've gone 2 years without having one, damn it. I think it's something that's perfectly understandable. But anyway, let's be positive. Diomande on the right can also play on the left. And there's a training session here that Real Madrid TV has shown. It's a brief clip of Diomande today at the Valdebebas training ground, training with the team. And honestly, I love this because I see here a footballer with a very special and very unpredictable 1-2. Because since Dembele can use both feet, he can also play on both sides. That's gold right now for a winger because there are wingers in football. Right-footed players usually play on the left and left-footed players on the right. This is already, it's gotten pretty pigeonholed by now. However, Diomande, who is a rare bird like Dembele, can play on both sides because he can use both feet. And I think that's impressive. For Mourinho, that's gold in terms of attacking options this year. But I go back to the same point. If there's no one to get the ball to him, watch out. In most matches, Madrid will be competitive, of course. And in most matches, those guys up front are going to get the ball. They'll have the ball. We'll see how it gets to them. I'm just giving the example of teams that are kryptonite for you. Arsenal has been that in recent years. Of course, Barca, we've only won 1 out of 9 Clásicos against them. I don't know, out of 7, 8, 9 Clásicos, only 1. A match in which precisely the coach got hung out to dry through one player in the only Clásico they won, by the way. And of course, those kinds of teams. Bayern Munich, we've beaten Manchester City in recent seasons, but it was when they were at their worst, especially in the last 2 years. When they played better, they scored 4 against us in that second leg. We also got 1 over on City later. I think in that case, it's Guardiola who gets obsessed with us and tries to invent new things, right? But anyway, we've seen it at Barca, at Arsenal, at Bayern. Against Bayern, we were also close to knocking them out. But they're like kryptonite to Real Madrid. But I insist, the forwards will get the ball, and this guy knows what to do with it. Real Madrid, that's debatable. Well, there he is working inside the facilities. And then with such power, fantastic lower body strength. This kind of player just has that naturally, right? Physically, they're beasts. And this kid at 19 years old looks older. I'm not going to make the joke here about whether he's actually older or not. What his ID says is that he's 19. That's what I'm saying. You never know if he's going to go out to the left or to the right. He's got a great 1-2 and also a really good left-footed shot. And technically, he's a player. Look at how well he gets out. So good, damn. That 1-2 he does, the way he turns around. Then he shoots with the outside of his right foot instead of his left. Look at how he uses that little back heel there. Come on, it's wonderful. You're seeing it small because I don't want to have any trouble later with Real Madrid TV. And that's what this player can offer us this year. And I think he's going to be really good. This guy is going to get the Bernabeu on its feet. Regarding the holding midfielder, it seems everything is already settled and being finalized. Now, the possibility of Adam Wharton, the Crystal Palace player, which I mentioned in a previous video, because that's what it says. On Transfer Market, it says he would cost around 70 million, that Crystal Palace would sell Wharton to Madrid for 70 million. Not a chance. Especially because they say the ones pushing are, who were they? One was Manchester United and the other was Chelsea. I think so too. Well, 100 or more. They're selling this guy for that price. Is it worth it? Well, look, out of everyone, because Badia Bodis is priced at 130. He's almost done with Manchester City because Zubimendi is absolutely ruled out. Besides, they'd also ask you for between 90 and 100. Keith Smith is a different kind of footballer, and that's why you have Guller. Besides, by signing Keith Smith, you'd be signing him to have him on the bench, and he wouldn't solve any of what you need, which is a holding midfielder. For me, the one who knows that role best, whether or not he can be the best in the world, is truly one of the Premier League's most outstanding, this guy. Zurdo. He's left-footed, he's very good positionally, plus he carries the ball very well and has good dribbling skills. For me, a midfielder who can dribble is very good, as long as he doesn't make things complicated for himself. In that sense, I remember Redondo a lot. Sometimes Redondo would make things complicated for himself, but he was so good positionally and such a boss in the midfield that you could forgive him for it, right? If not, he'd just extend his arm and create that bubble of space like this. And maybe, well, with Adam Wharton, the thing is that here, of course, he could play alone because he knows that role of being the single pivot really well. And he could also play with someone next to him. Hey, maybe that's a solution to put him there with Chouameni, because one is more defensive and the other would contribute more to the creative play in the midfield, which is what we really need. But of course, we're in the same situation. You would have to take Valverde, Guller, Bernardo Silva, and so on out of the starting lineup. Camavinga isn't even being considered for this lineup. But for this guy to come in, Latigo Serrano was pointing out today that for this guy to come in, Madrid would have to sell someone. So Madrid wouldn't just spend 100 million on him. In midfield, in the end, all eyes are on him. Because given those specific characteristics, there's only this guy at Real Madrid level. If you manage to sell someone, and that someone has to be Camavinga or Valverde, but I think the most sellable is Camavinga because I think Madrid has absolutely ruled out selling Valverde. It would be a big surprise. Therefore, I see it as more and more difficult. What do you want me to say? But well, there are people who don't care. There are people who believe, I insist, I say it again, there are people who believe this is unstoppable, plus Bellingham, and that what you get from midfield doesn't matter. Well, we'll ask them where they've been for the last 2 years if they've watched Real Madrid's matches. Because I'm really surprised sometimes by the way people talk. No, it's fine. Relax, relax. We're already very good up front and not in the midfield. Well, hey, there are already good players there. Yeah. Valverde is very good. Chouameni is very good. They're all good. But we've already seen what they bring there and how they fit together, by the way, when it comes to creating play. One last thing. The documentary about Mourinho is coming out on Netflix. I haven't watched the whole thing. I've seen some parts. Now let's see if I can sit down calmly on the couch and watch it. I'm looking forward to it. But there's a part where Khedira talks about that relationship with Casillas and how the Real Madrid locker room blew up. I'm going to ask a question here in this video. Answer in the comments and share your thoughts. I usually share my opinion openly, but this time I'll take more of a middle ground stance and see what you all think. Khedira describes how the locker room erupted over the conflict between Mourinho and Casillas. Iker, a Real Madrid legend loved by fans, was benched and ignored by Mourinho, who also criticized him publicly. The locker room became a living hell. When he says he wouldn't speak to him, I take that to mean Mo wouldn't speak to Casillas because he spoke badly about him in the media. Mo about Casillas. Surely Casillas didn't speak to Mo either. And if he spoke badly about Mo, it wasn't in the media, but rather to people from the media. We know this too. Nobody gets off the hook here. Khedira says the locker room became a living hell, and that after this, José's relationship with many players, including Cristiano Ronaldo and the Spanish players, broke down. Those players were crucial for the locker room, which became toxic. Okay, let me ask you. You all like Cristiano, right? Well, all of us Madrid fans love him, same as Mau. Casillas, not so much. People like him less. For me, with Casillas, I make a distinction there. To me, Casillas was not a great captain, not at all. He's a special kind of guy, Casillas. But as a Spaniard, maybe you, as a Spaniard too, maybe you don't care about the national team and all that. You must be going through a tough time now with Spain being world champion. But anyway, how lucky and how good that I haven't moved from that position my whole life. No, it's not luck. It's simply about having a line to follow and sticking to it. But anyway, that being said, I also thank Casillas for what he did for the Spanish national team. So I can't bring myself to hate Casillas. I just can't. There are people, many YouTubers, hey, you can go watch their videos. That's fine. That's perfect. They really tear him apart. I'm just saying how I feel here. Casillas was not a good captain, and his behavior in the locker room could have been better, much better. I also appreciate that at the time he did a great job uniting everyone on the Spanish national team. That clashed with Madrid. Well, yes, it did clash. It did clash. Honestly, it didn't have to clash. I think both things could have been handled the way they've always been handled. But at that time, there was a fire there, a fire that Mourinho also helped to fuel. And here, Guedira himself will say that he even stopped having a good relationship with Cristiano Ronaldo and with the other Spanish players from Real Madrid. Was Mourinho right? Well, I'll leave that up to you. So write to me there. But for a coach, the most important thing should be, or the priority should be, having a good atmosphere in the locker room. Allowing things to get out of hand seems wrong to me, honestly. Doing a great job like Mourinho did. By the way, in that documentary, Mourinho also talks about how the first 3 conversations he had with Casillas were Casillas asking to arrive an hour later to training, Casillas asking not to stay with the team the day before, Casillas asking for something else. I don't know what. Mourinho said, damn, these people are too comfortable. Mourinho was absolutely right. I tweeted about this earlier with this story. Mourinho was completely right here. And with his energy back then, he managed to get them back on track. The first 2 years at Madrid were incredible. In terms of mentality, they lost the league to Barca that year, but still won the Copa del Rey. The next year, they beat Barca and won the record-breaking league title. So Guardiola had to leave because of that effect Madrid had, believing they were getting bigger and finally reaching the Champions League semifinals. Incredible work by Mourinho in that aspect, mentally. But the third year got away from him, man. The locker room, they tell you, no, he was right. Even if he was right, I think a coach shouldn't allow that to happen. And even more with Cristiano Ronaldo there in the locker room. Now, I've been one of those who said, hey, you have to listen to the coach. All the players need to be kept in line. I've said this. Like what happened with Vinicius and Xabi Alonso last season. I was on Xabi Alonso's side. But against Vinicius and against whoever it was, any of the players, absolutely, the coach is the coach. But damn, when you already have most of the locker room against you, you also need a bit of tact to know how to handle that. Mourinho's last year at Madrid in 12-13 was a disaster, damn it. What we did in the league was a disaster. We nearly made the Champions League final. One more goal against Borussia Dortmund would have gotten us there. But I don't know. I hope Mourinho this year keeps having enough energy to shake them up because they're getting comfortable again in this locker room. And then that he has learned from that time. And if there's a player in the locker room who goes against him, someone he can't stand, and so on, well, I wouldn't mind if he did the same thing he did with Casillas again. Let's see if he does it to Mbappe or to Vinicius or to Bellingham. Let's see if he does it. Let's see if these guys behave as badly as Casillas did back then or as strangely as he did. But damn, with one, but you can't allow half the locker room to be against you. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. I think I am. I hope so. Well, let me know what you think in the comments. All the best to you. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel. Comment, share. See you in the next one. These videos are running a little longer, also because I'm only making 2 videos a day. And well, I hope those of you who made it this far enjoyed it. And hype up the video, which is really good for the channel's growth. It's still growing, fortunately. We're going to reach 130,000 thanks to you. Bye.